Are you a good doctor?
I used to be. I won an award once from the mayor. Had an expensive frame.
They're all gonna die.
The day I get out of prison, my own brother picks me up in a police car.
Using his vast knowledge of history and politics, we start our day off right with motivational speaker Richard Battle.
Speaking of history, I love having this cat on. Mr. Battle, our history together. I'm just looking. We've been talking about 6 of your books so far. What are you, Stephen King? And that isn't even, that's when I met you.
Well, I feel obligated to keep putting them out just for you, Al.
And I appreciate it. I put my little collection, the 3 stuff we're going to talk about. I put it over here, and I'm looking, I got 3 more. Have I been talking to you for 6 books? How old are we? Oh, my goodness. I appreciate you being on, my friend.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me back.
It is ours. Missed you last week, but we had that
Yes.
deal going on. That was fun. I appreciate you coming back. How's softball team? You play a lot of softball now.
We finished our tournament in Vegas, and let me tell the listeners, if you like The Wizard of Oz, and if you happen to be in Vegas, make sure to go see it at the Sphere.
Oh, really? Okay. Well,
It's
free
fabulous.
plug for them. Oh, that's great. How's your heat? As of we're taping, we're looking at we're going to be 90 degrees here today in Minnesota. What are you, 210? What's the heat down there?
We're only 95, I think, today.
Really? Okay, because this is unbelievably warm for us this time of year. But okay.
It's what we call bonus summer.
Well, yeah, but your summer's scorching hot. This is weirdo stuff where I was like, okay. Today we're talking about Rutherford B. Hayes. Can you tell us why?
Well, his birthday is Saturday, October 4th.
That's fair enough.
But he was involved with one of the most unusual elections in our history to become president, and one that helped heal the nation from the Civil War. And with all of the division and angst we have in politics today, I think it's interesting to see how the country was brought back together after the Civil War, and 600,000 to 700,000 men died fighting for principles. And it didn't happen easily. It wasn't linear. It wasn't short term to do, but there were people that were statesmen that put the country and healing ahead of themselves and party. And today, all we see are politicians who put party and self ahead of country.
Oh, yeah. He did the 1-term deal. We'll talk about that in a minute, but he declared it and he stuck to his word. I got to think when he got done with the first term, he's like, hey, I like this gig, but he didn't. He stuck to his word. But let's talk about him himself. He had a tough little life, right? Well, who didn't have a tough life in 1822? But tough. What outhouses were still around, right? We didn't have indoor plumbing in 1822. So he had a tough life. But he actually really had a very tough life. Didn't his dad die? Did he know his dad?
Yeah, I mean, his dad passed away. And like so many other people, though, he had that internal fortitude and what I call the AmeriCANS spirit,
There you go.
which is why I profile him in AmeriCANS, Who Made America, the 19th century book. He was a lawyer. He ended up running for political office and serving. He was in the military on the federal side and got promoted up to general as well. But his character was impeccable, and he put principle ahead of power. He didn't seek power for power's sake. He was a true public servant who served when he was called, and only because he was called.
Had been kind of bright because, you're talking a kid who was born without his dad and somehow gets himself to Harvard, gets a degree, but didn't he do service? Here you are, a lawyer, probably doing pretty good or not, and then he joins the service?
Well, yes, he did. And he didn't really care much about what was going on with the division in the country until the Civil War actually broke out as a hot war versus just rhetoric. And that's when he volunteered and enlisted and participated and for the remainder of the war.
Well, yeah, and promoted, right? He ended up being like a general of some sort, and it's like going in at nothing and getting a general by the time you're out in whatever it would have been, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it was. That's amazing. He had to really stuck out.
Well, exactly. And the thing is, again, he was not seeking, and we'll do a quote later, but he was not seeking personal glory or self. he was trying to figure out, as Teddy Roosevelt said, do what you can, where you can, with what you can.
Yeah. So he goes through the war. How did that frame him? I mean, again, he wanted to heal, even though he's in the war, right? I mean, what's interesting to me is if you're this brigadier general coming out of a war, you would think the other side you'd like to tamp down because, you fought against them. But that really wasn't his gig.
No, but it was some of the other folks that were in leadership. If Abraham Lincoln would have lived, nobody knows, but my opinion is Reconstruction would have been easier, quicker, and we would have healed the nation easier. But after he was shot, especially, the more, I'll call it, militant leadership took over and wanted to further punish the South. Yeah. And punish they did, and the South resented it. And some of the South resented it for all the way into World War II.
Yeah, and was it Hayes then that allowed those statues of the Southern generals and that sort of stuff? We tear them down now, but back in the day, they left those up because he said we had to heal, that they had to have their people who were fighting for them and honor them. I mean, we look back now and say how horrible it is, and they tear those statues down, but that was part of the healing process.
Well, people have to realize that both sides fought on principles they believed in, and both sides fought with honor on those principles, even though there's disagreement about the principles. And yes, you're right. That was why so many military facilities were named after Southerners. Of course, I don't see any Confederate statues in the North, but in the South, every town square had a Confederate statue on there because of people who fought for their principles with courage.
Yeah. All right. This, I presume, I want to go to break early because we got a lot on this other side. AmeriCANS Who Made America, the 19th Century Growth, Division, Unification. How much of what we're talking about today is in this with him?
It's in the profile, and we talk about the election of 1876 because it was so unique. And we didn't have an election similar to it until 2020, but how they were dealt with was totally the opposite.
Yeah, and that's what I want to make sure we have plenty of time to talk about that on the other side, because I think people realize 2020 wasn't that far away. We'll remember how those went, how they differ and how they are the same. We'll talk about that right after this with Richard Battle, the man who wrote it, AmeriCANS Who Made America, 19th Century Growth, Division, Reunification. Pick up the book. We'll talk more about that too. Coming up.
When the stakes are high at the Minnesota Capitol, you need more than a lobbyist. You need a partner. At Momentum Advocacy, we bring nearly 90 years of combined experience in government relations, public affairs, and strategic communications. From nonprofits to national corporations, we help organizations navigate Minnesota's political landscape with integrity, insight, and results. Whether you need legislative champions or headlines, Momentum Advocacy delivers. For more, visit momentum-advocacy.com. Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol.
Achieving your financial goals requires individual planning and a comprehensive approach. At Midwest Money Management, our mission is to provide you with the knowledge, tools, and confidence to feel comfortable financially today and secure about tomorrow. Learn more at MidwestMoneyManagement.com. That's MidwestMoneyManagement.com.
Securities offered through JW Cole Financial Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through JW Cole Advisors Inc., Midwest Money Management, and JW Cole Financial Inc. and JW Cole Advisors Inc. are unaffiliated entities.
as in alligator. L also in alligator. But it's not alligator. It's the Al Travis Show.
You know, it's fun to read the books that Mr. Battle writes, especially the AmeriCANS Who Made America Great. Because you find stuff out. When you look at Hayes, this guy goes to law school, then he joins the service, becomes a brigadier general, then he runs for office. And not just, wasn't he governor a couple times for Ohio?
Yes.
Right? And then he ran for representative, right?
Yes.
Did he win that?
Yes.
And then went back to governor and then became president. I mean, that's a heck of a resume.
Well, it's a heck of a resume. And I have to tell you on the side, I didn't have it in our notes for today, but George Armstrong Custer, part of his ambition before he got annihilated was 1876. He wanted to be the Democrat nominee for president. And of course, he wasn't. Samuel Tilden, the governor of New York, was. But so it's very fascinating, all the things that came together that year. They admitted Colorado as a state, but they used an irregular process. So, and Colorado had 3 electoral votes, and they went to Hayes. So that made a difference in the election first. And we had elections in 1800 and 1824 that candidate did not get a majority, and they went to the House of Representatives, as in the Constitution, and they were solved. But the House of Representatives in this case didn't do their duty. They were not wanting, I guess, the blowback, if you will, of anything. And so they appointed a federal commission, which is not in the Constitution. And they appointed representatives and senators and Supreme Court justices to sit on it. And so that was very interesting. And that commission, imagine this, voted by 1 vote which way they recommended the election to go.
And so that is how Hayes got it. So if people understand,
well, there was a little more to it than that.
Okay,
but that was part of what contributed to it.
Okay,
so there were issues, and imagine this: Florida had election issues, South Carolina, Louisiana, Vermont, and Oregon, and so they had ballot counting issues, as we've seen more recently. But they also had issues of where they said, like in Oregon, that electors weren't qualified to be electors. And those 5 states represented 20 electoral votes. And before they were counted, Tilden led by 19 electoral votes.
Wow.
And so the question came up, how do we resolve these 5 states? And that's how the Electoral Commission was set up to resolve that, if you will.
Can you imagine 18, whatever would have been, 76? You don't have phones. I presume they had telegraphs then.
Yes.
But the amount of communication it would take to find out that there is something fishy in Florida or in South Carolina. Oh, what's the problem? You know, campaigns themselves. How did he find out? And what do you mean, what's the problem? We can make a phone call now. We can do a Zoom call and say, what are you talking about, Bob? And show me ballads or whatever. You remember when, after Clinton, Al Gore, and they're doing that hanging Chad thing, and they're holding the thing, a piece of paper up in the thing. We all got to see it. If you're just Joe Schmuckatelli in Colorado trying to make your life, you're reading about this once a week in a newspaper or something? I mean, no one's saying there wasn't the ability to tell the world what was going on.
Well, that's why it's so important, because they didn't resolve this thing for 115 days until right before the constitutionally mandated Inauguration Day. So they were trying to figure out, how do we resolve this before Inauguration Day? So there was no run up to the new office holders, no transition period like we expect and see today. Other fascinating thing is the Democrats control the House, but yet the Republicans won the election. Imagine that. So there were statesmen who stepped up and sacrificed party to try to figure out a way, how do we solve this issue and work on bringing the country back together after this horrible civil war we went through.
Look how far we are from that today. We got the government shut down today because we can't get along and play. These guys literally said, hey, we got to get over this. I'll change my vote and go over the Republican. We don't have those people anymore.
No, we don't. And that's what we need. We need that to heal the country now. We need people on both sides, not just to stick to a party line. And what we have today is we have 4 leaders, 2 in the House, 2 in the Senate. And basically, their votes are the only ones that count. All the representatives and senators are told, you vote how we tell you, or you won't get funding for the election. And so the deal that ended up being cut, and it was brilliant, was that Hayes promised to serve only 1 term, which he did. And he promised to remove federal troops from the South, which would end Reconstruction. And for people who don't realize it, after the war, Reconstruction lasted 11 years in the South.
Did not know that.
And they were just punished. They couldn't vote. Taxes were onerous. You had what were called carpetbaggers that came from the North or the South that had leadership positions in government. And they went out of their way to mistreat Southerners as punishment for the war. And so this helped the healing of the war in electing the Hayes that time. And so the Southerners and the Republicans Democrats and the Republicans came back together to bring this off.
I don't want to go get off of Rutherford B. Hayes without doing the quotes. One thing about all your books, you always have these great quotes from these guys. Give me the quotes from Rutherford Hayes.
Well, the one I really wanted to make sure that we got to today was, nothing brings out the lower traits of human nature more like office seeking. Men of good character and impulses are betrayed by it into all sorts of meanness. And tell me we don't see that today.
Oh, absolutely. The one I like was about the debt. Do you have that about spending too much money? So we sit here trying to get our government funded. Let every man, every corporation. Do you see that? I can do it. I got to know. Let every man, every corporation, especially let every village, town, and city, every county and state get out of debt and keep out of debt. It is the debtor that is ruined by hard times.
Yes.
Good God, could we listen to that man? Please.
Yes. And that's another reason why, and as we've talked about before, smart people learn from their experience. Brilliant people learn from the experience of others. And that's part of my mission, is try to look back at these wisdom of the ages and share it with people so it can help us today.
And I just try to tell people I hang with Richard Battle. Try to get some cred for that. Hey, how do we get the 3 set? Folks, it all started with Made in America by AmeriCANS, not AmeriCANS. He did Americans Who Made America, the 18th Century. Now we've got the 19th century where Hayes is at. All 3 books for sale. If you have children, they need these books in your household. Get them. I don't know, all the way up to college. These are great books. How do I get them, Mr. Battle?
Well, everything's available. All 12 books are available, including 11 on Kindle and 8 on audio on Amazon under Richard V. Battle. But if you go to richardbattle.com, all books are signed. And if you want these 3, there's a patriotic bundle that if you buy these 3, you get another book, The 4-Letter Word That Builds Character, complimentary, and shipping is free.
And I'm going to tell you now, as we're Christmas, it's around the corner. These are great Christmas gifts. Get them ordered today, get them signed by the author, and you'll be the greatest grandparent of all time when they say, look what I got. My grandparents bought me these books by Richard Battle.
There's holidays such as Halloween and Thanksgiving, too.
Yeah, don't forget a good Halloween gift. You're a great marketer, my friend, a great marketer. I appreciate you being on the program. We'll get to do it again.
Always my pleasure. God bless America.
God bless America.
Think about it. A famous politician once said, "You're entitled to your opinion."